Wanting to continue to keep you all briefed up, and every Wednesday always look forward to doing just that. You know, as I start with public safety and year-to-date stats, using always the preliminary data from the New Orleans Police Department. Starting through September 30th, comparing 2023 with 2022. Just continue to demonstrate progress in curbing violent crime across the city of New Orleans. Total crimes against persons down 20%. Murders are down 26% in our city. Armed robberies remain down at 33%. Non-fatal shooting incidents remain down 17%. Non-fatal shooting victims are down 19%. Carjackings are down 45% in our city. Even comparing September 2022 to this September highlights again how far we have come as a city in decreasing violent crime again throughout the city. There were significantly less violent crimes this September than last September, including a 56% decrease in murders, a 61% decrease in carjackings, and an overall 37% decrease, again, in total crimes against persons. This is progress. And just continues to reflect the works of the hard-working women and men of the New Orleans Police Department. In addition to and combining our holistic approach that my administration has set forward. Understanding that over a year ago where we were, quite alarming in our city. I know that you all reported overwhelmingly people were moving out, all those things that we felt, and even in real time, of course, we saw. But our officers never wavered. All those roll calls attending, I tell you, paid off. Listening to the patrol, that means the boots on the ground. Not only listening, but bringing what I heard back, leaning in to accept even help relative to our partners, like the business community. Remember that press conference we had, where I asked for and welcomed a 10-day assessment that therefore led to additional resources being allocated from the business community to highlight and bring forth consultant services. And so that had an impact, but also we started to see this as we moved into 2023. Even with leadership transitions, I told you we would stay and remain steady. I'm confident in that even now with the leadership transition that is ongoing now, because the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department have what it takes to keep our community safe. And when we add in and factor in the resources that we were able to deploy, and thank God for that one-time funding for the ARPA dollars, I fought single-handedly for those direct dollars that we could utilize. But also, in addition to the partnerships, our law enforcement agencies, demonstrated over and over again, working with and in collaboration with our hard-working talent on the ground, that we would make progress. In addition to activating dollars to do force multipliers, I call it, whether that is civilian hires, check, great job. Whether that is making sure that we can respond to the needs of our community and those that are suffering from mental health issues or outbreaks, if you will. Bottom line is, we delivered what we said that we would, and we're seeing progress today. But it didn't just start now. And that's the whole point. You dig in, you focus, you assess, you listen, you work with, you collaborate, you support. And so I got to give it all again to the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department, because at the end of the day, it really does start with them, but also it starts with us, providing the support and the services just necessary. I want to thank even Miss Marguerite Doyle. I'm thinking about Miss Marguerite. 5th District, resident, leadership, you name it. So they just donated, lots of water to the 5th District. Just the community is doing things. They have been re-energized. They're, motivated because of the progress. That's what progress does, And that's what good news does. That's what positivity, that's what it does. That's what love does. That's what respect does. So over and over and over, this administration, in partnership, continue to deliver. And on public safety, it is this time that we take a little moment and no, we're not there yet, meaning there will always be a time that we have to continue to collaborate, work together to get things done. There will always be spikes, absolutely. Because now you're asking me about what happened a year ago and how COVID impacted public safety. Now you're asking it. When we were sharing it and telling you then. But now, when the progress has been made and demonstrated by the women and men of NOPD, and with leadership coming from my administration and in partnership, they've delivered. They deserve it. And we're going to give it to them every step of the way because they give it to us every day. That also includes investing in our young people. And you know how I got attacked for that. You know it. Supporting programming that has worked for young people, and time does tell a story. And the story is 98% of those young people that have crossed the line in the city of New Orleans that have been met with resources that we have funded and have provided through, again, partnership and collaboration, juvenile court, the Juvenile Justice Intervention Center, the Office of Youth and Families, all in coordination. It has worked. The young person that I recognized that had benefited from Pathways when I showed up to support the program, that also supported the family, but did not in any way discount the victims, that young person is doing so well right now. And as I indicated to them and young people that I touch, you can hit a bump, but you can turn it around. And we have real examples in our history, real examples in our family. I do, over and over, how you can turn it around. And once you get over that step, that little bump, it's like, wow. Because in the moment, sometimes you don't think that it's possible. And you don't realize it's possible until you actually do it. So this is also to those young people, our families that continue to be a part of our criminal justice system. Accountability breeds accountability breeds accountability. We're seeing the results. So I can go on and on and on that. You hear me, right? So I'm gonna move on. Like I tell my people, if I'm on my little soap, I can say, where's that horse again? Where's he laying? Anyway, you get my point. You get my point, because we cannot forget the moment in time that we're in. We're hiring, we're recruiting. We need the best and brightest to be amongst us, to join leadership that's effective on the ground. I walked home the other day, my little neighbor. Miss Latoya, y'all hiring, with NOPD? I said, man, you see the sign in my yard? Yeah, we hiring, NOPD.org, join. And so, and I've been working with this young fella, my neighbors up, anyway, transferable. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. But I told him yes. So by that evening, he had texted me a screenshot of where he went to apply. And he got his little response, thank you for applying, and that. So that's getting the ball rolling. That is our community being re-energized and reactivated to understand that this is a noble profession and they can be a part of it. And this young man, a son of this city, a young man, young father. Oh my goodness, I can go on and on. All right, saltwater intrusion. Let me get some water. Now, most importantly, the message is our water continues to be safe. And that will always be the top priority for my administration, for that of the Sewage and Water Board, and even in partnership with the federal government, with the state of Louisiana. No doubt about it. The Sewage and Water Board tests daily for salinity, none found. We have some of the best testing apparatuses and talent, quite frankly, in this state coming through the Sewage and Water Board, and data, right? And data is always impactful if used wisely. And we're doing just that at the Sewage and Water Board, which also led to, one, looking at data from 1998, sharing with the state, having the best again in the state, also led to me at the first briefing with the governor, and of course in consultation with Sewage and Water Board leadership, even with that of mine in terms of DPW, but looking at lessons learned, looking at how we can actually lay the foundation for a pipeline, one that goes, again, beyond, and as we talk about Kenner, one that requires collaboration, of course, with our parishes in Jefferson Parish, one that the city of New Orleans put on the table, and one that even prior to putting it on the table had already been in discussions with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. But one that was embraced heavily, one that was taken to the next step, meaning not just looking, and of course, in terms of the federal government and even FEMA, as we're looking and really being pushed into adapting to climate that has already changed. So these weather events have an impact. And with lessons learned, we have an opportunity to not just go with a temporary fix, but we do have an opportunity to focus on a permanent. So make no mistake about it, the city of New Orleans is not behind anybody or anyone. The city of New Orleans is leading in this capacity. You know, regardless of what you hear, you know, like the people in the community when they see me, I don't care what they say. You know, I don't care what they say, Titi. You know, I say, I don't either. But I'm saying, don't believe the hype. The City of New Orleans, Sewage and Water Board, we're leading in this capacity. We're getting the responses that we're due. Again, at the federal level, I've been always leaning in, always attached to the briefings, always advocating, picking up the phone, calling myself. So no asks have been done by anybody else first but me. But of course, echoed, you continue to ask, and you continue to circle the wagons to demonstrate, one, the solution is a collaborative one, that there's buy-in across the board, that we can actually get it done, that we have the talent to get it done, and we need the resources. The federal government is listening, and the state is listening, and I just wanted to, again, let you know, and the public know, be confident, because I am. And as this administration has continued to, especially in the times of crises, to focus on the work and get us through it. Just like before, here we are, right? But it's a different response that's necessary. Not thinking about closing down the city, none of that. This isn't COVID. And we have time is on our side, and we're using it wisely. So, the Sewage and Water Board has moved forward with procurement in regards to contractors to do and work with. That's happening. But always wanting to make sure that we get the best outcome possible, because it's not a matter of if, it's when. And if we can do this, and we will do it, then this is could be a permanent solution for us long term. And again, it takes a collaborative approach, and we have it happening every day, and we're going to deliver. And that is local, meaning city government, Sewage and Water Board, my administration, in partnership with the state of Louisiana, GOSEP and the like, in partnership with the federal government, FEMA, and other partners. All right. And then also just wanting to, it always feels good to be able to help out as well and to be a part of the solution. And that's what the City of New Orleans is, and the Sewage and Water Board, who we are, to our neighboring parishes, making sure that they have water that they need. And so again, doing what it takes, and we'll continue to deploy strategies that are uniquely defined and aligned with the needs of our parish. And so with that, I am going to turn it over. I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about at the top of my mind, but I'll go to you, Andrew.
One question and a follow-up, and we'll start with Foxy.
Mayor Cantrell, as related to the Plaza Tower, so I was told that code enforcement just voted to partially cut fines for Joe Yeager related to Plaza Tower. The fines went from $2 million to $200,000. It's been an eyesore for years. What do you think about the reduced fine and the future of Plaza Tower?
Sure. So the Office of Code Enforcement, through OBES, continues to engage, continues to hold the developer accountable, the owner accountable, and has been demonstrated and also shared with you. You're asking me something, you said it just happened?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm right here. So give me a moment, right? Be respectful. Let me digest so I can respond with reference material. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And also, yesterday, the City Council held a special meeting about your Communications Director, Gregory Joseph. He did not show up. He is here today. Do you think that he should have shown up to that meeting yesterday? Do you think it was disrespectful to the City Council that he didn't show up?
So Gregory Joseph and all city employees definitely show up every single day. And so he will continue to show up to do the work of this administration, and particularly at a time such as now, moving through the crises in terms of water, the real concerns that come to me or questions that come to me from the public, putting them, one, at rest and calming them based on the solutions that we're deploying and the way that we really go, I would say, the extra mile to communicate effectively and educate our public. And so as it relates to respect, I believe that city employees deserve to be respected every single day. Respect is due a dog. And the only dogs that we have are a part of our canine and even those that we've embraced with EMS. Thank you.
Jordan?
Regarding the saltwater intrusion, it seems like the Sewage and Water Board is moving forward with what was announced as the front-runner idea, the pipeline. Can you say that they are moving forward with the pipeline? And then when it comes to engineering that needs to be done and the actual funding, is there some sort of timeline that you know of when engineering will be done and the funding will get here?
Sure, the timeline that we're working off of is a timeline that was released and approved by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So again, working aggressively every day. That's why, one, the contractual, the procurement process has started. In short order will be completed because the time is now. We all understand that, and everyone is leaning in with urgency, but also wanting to lean in with accuracy. We cannot make any mistakes relative to not on any side, because we want to make sure that the City of New Orleans, holistically, whether it's the city directly, Sewage and Water Board, that we do everything appropriately so that we do not jeopardize any opportunity for federal resources in which the federal government is tied to this project. So again, everything that needs to be happening is happening, and we're working through the financial implications with the federal government. Again, as I mentioned, this is a real opportunity for the federal government. As we are embracing climate adaptation, we really have to do some things differently. And that's what's being accepted and embraced literally at every level. climate adaptation. That's what it is. It's not a matter of if, it's when, and it's just that serious. That's where our focus is on, and that's what we really should be communicating, I would say, to the public, right? Information and educating our public, and that's why, again, it's always necessary to demonstrate respect at every level as well. Andrew?
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Off of Jordan's question, last week we were told that the pipeline would be starting to be built in 7 to 10 days. That timeline looks to be the end of this week. Is that on timeline as what we're seeing right now? And it sounds like that procurement process might be being expedited and moving a little bit faster than normal of that 2-month period of what we normally see for procurement processes.
Right, so the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will be releasing some information today. They, as you know, is embedded in this entire process, and the agencies continue to be coordinated, and we're moving ahead. You know, progress is being made.
And regarding that pipeline, what is the plan moving forward in terms of building that in regards to private property?
Like I said, all those steps, it is a complex, right? And all hands are on deck at every single level and stage. And so I have no reason to believe that our partners understand what needs to happen. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, best engineers in the world, right, in our backyard. I'm happy for that. And so we're going to get it done.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Getting into some of those preliminary crime statistics from the NOD, you mentioned that violent crime is down by 10%. Definitely something that should be celebrated considering where we were last year. Zoning in on those numbers, though, looking at simple rates, those are up. What are, if anything, the NOD is doing to try to address that? And then as well as we look into property crimes for auto thefts, looking at that, that's up 112%. So what are some things that the NOD is doing to address those fears?
Sure, so they continue to lean in, right? And the administration continues to take a holistic approach to ensuring that our victims have the resources and services, but also being proactive. We understand that most of these, it's domestic and domestic violence, and it's the entanglements there. And so we will continue to ensure that we have resources activated to meet our people where they are. And this also comes by way of force multipliers for the New Orleans Police Department. Property crimes, as you know, has really been the one that's driven the rates up. So you do see still a decline there. Remain high, but they're going and trending in the right direction as well. This is a key indicator that, one, we're doing well with violent crime, we're moving, because then we start shifting to other areas, as we should, right? Because all of them matter to us at the same time. So we'll continue to remain focused and deploy strategies, again, that meet our people where they are and provide that force multiplier for the New Orleans Police Department.
And circling back to the Saltwater, we get questions every day from viewers that are still panicked and concerned about the Saltwater. As you mentioned, it is inevitable, so we have to deal with it. You mentioned a permanent pipeline. Is that something that is being in the works simultaneously as this one's going in, or will be going in now, or is it kind of will be the same thing? Like, will the one coming in now will be the permanent one, or is the one coming in now will be temporary?
As I mentioned, this is the opportunity to go big, as the governor told us. Go big. Now is the time. Think big, go big. And that's what the city of New Orleans put on the table, a go big project that doesn't just safeguard the city of New Orleans, but neighboring parishes as well. So we're not thinking in isolation. This is all in parallel. This is the opportunity that we have. We're leaning in on that. I'm not giving up on that. Adaptation is necessary. Lessons learned are being deployed. And so again, pipeline, looking not just for temporary, looking to go big. That's the opportunity we have.
Shane?
Just looking at social media comments, a lot of people seem to be confused about what our plan is in Orleans Parish when it comes to the saltwater intrusion. If you could talk more about that, just lay it out, and then also if you could talk more about the pipeline.
Well, I've given you a lot of information. As it relates to the public, they should know that the city of New Orleans is doing everything, not only in coordination, but we're getting results. Action is happening daily. our salt, there's no saline that has been found in our drinking water. Our water remains safe. And we have every indication to believe that it will be just that. However, we are deploying strategies, no doubt. Every area is different, meaning West Bank versus East Bank. So when we think about Algiers, there's a different strategy there. We'll be able to do some blending. We have about a little over 14 million gallons of water that we have to, that we deploy daily. And so it offers a different solution. We feel very confident there, no doubt, and building in the necessary redundancy. As it relates to the East Bank, it really, it's about our Carrollton, a water plant there. And so we generate over 141 million gallons of water daily, which is one of the largest, I would say, in the state and in the region that we're focusing on, which also requires and calls for a different solution. And the solution that we have put on the table is the best solution that has been vetted. We put it on the table, but it's been vetted. It has been embraced, and it's moving forward relative to contractual, the process, and working in collaboration again with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, all of our federal partners, GOSEP, the state, all of our partners there, and of course the administration along with the Sewage and Water Board. So the public should be reassured that we're doing everything necessary and going above and beyond to ensure that we adapt to climate conditions based on the changes that have already happened. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And so we have to, again, think differently and do things differently based on lessons that have been learned. And I can't think of any other community in this country, any other city in this country, any other parish in this country that has demonstrated its resiliency, that has demonstrated that we know how to get through, and has demonstrated that we're leaders in this. Own it. It's real. I'm owning it, and I'm leading in this capacity, and I'm just telling my people, be reassured. But it also, when you mention what people are talking about, what people are worried about, and what people are concerned about, is not my communications director. And at a time like this, we need to be focused on effectively communicating what our people want to hear about. And thank you for your questions and bringing forth the public.
I just have one more too, just under the Louisiana Homeland Security and Emergency Assistance and Disaster Act, it says that properties could be seized by the federal government if, if they need to get a certain area, say, amid the saltwater emergency. Could this happen? And what should residents know about this?
Sure. So from my perspective, that is something that has not, for me, hasn't been discussed. And of course, the federal government will be the first to even assess, make the recommendation and the like. I've had no conversations that make me believe that that's on the table. It's not, I have no reason to believe that that's on the table. And my only, it makes me think about when the state moved property to build UMC, right? It's not one of those situations. It's not one of those situations. And I reference that because I'm, on the ground then and community leader and kind of being in the middle of that. It's not one of those situations. So I don't want our public, because some of our people have been through it. They really have. And so I just want to reassure them that this is not what it is. Although I love UMC and it's great, but the impacts are real on our people. So that's where that's coming from, and I respect it.
Consultant Fausto Pichardo's last week is this week. What would you say he brought to the table to help with NOV?
Well, first of all, I would not, you're telling me that it's his last week. I don't believe that's fact, but so I don't agree with you on that one. But Chief Pichardo, as I mentioned when I talked about public safety, leaning in, working with partners, those that have been at the table, those that have been with me every step of the way. He has been a real partner, and his engagement has been impactful, and his engagement in the future will remain impactful. Thank you.
And then my other question is, there's been some complaints from event staff at the Superdome and the Smoothie King Center that say that your team and you have been badging in on events without tickets. What would you say to that?
My team and me, I don't know who you're referencing, but as it relates to the concert that I attended, I had a ticket.
And I think the Essence Fest was one of them that was brought up as a concern of not having a ticket. I don't know if you.
Essence Festival,
Yes, ma'am.
the city of New Orleans, partnering, puts in resources. I don't know what you're talking about.
Just one of the complaints. that-
Yeah, that's a complaint. I've never heard that ever. Thank you. Good morning.
So when you're talking about climate adaptation, other places in the country, like San Diego and Florida, they have desalination plants, and San Diego has pitched it as a way to like drought-proof their water supply. Is that something, when you're talking about a permanent solution, is that something that you could see down the road?
Well, what I will say, excuse me, not to cut you off. Sorry if I did. You know, people say not to cut you off, I didn't cut you off. I didn't mean that. So what I will say is that the talent that we have, not just within the Sewage and Water Board or my administration, but in collaboration with partners, whether that's the Water Collab. It's just so many partners that we have around water and how we've been engaged globally around water, and that includes partners in California. Everything is on the table relative to the city of New Orleans being able to mitigate any issues or infractions that we receive from climate and our ability to adapt. So I don't have any specifics relative to that question right now, but what I will say is best practices are always something that we lean in on. And I read something recently. I've been reading myself. I have to read. I read.
Oh, one more? Okay.
No, go ahead.
So when you talk about your partners, you've been mentioning state and federal partners, have you heard from your counterparts in other parishes that are not having their water threatened? They call to offer help, insight, any support for you?
Well, what I will say is that all impacted parishes have all been at the table. And we hear from one another, meaning we hear everyone's briefings. Everyone briefs out. That's the way the governor has structured things. That's how we're used to working together and collaborating. And we help each other. So that's also a way that, you know, we troubleshoot. And it's an opportunity to put things on the table. And so I would say that, yes, there has been engagement of other parishes wanting to help, and other cities too.
What are the contingency plans in the event that the pipeline isn't completed in time for the saltwater arrival?
So based on data, it looks like, and the Corps is going to respond and give you more information on this today, so I'm going to allow them to share more. That has an impact on our timeline. But this is the best solution for us, and this is the one that we're focusing on. With 141 million gallons of water, this is it. Even as it relates to a temporary fix, which is not that I'm advocating for, we'll be fine. And so contingency, more to come on that as the engineers, as the Corps just continues to focus on it.
Okay, so that you're saying there's gonna be more information in terms of like if there's like a 10-day gap or something between the completion of the pipeline and the saltwater's arrival at Carrollton? You know, like if they haven't completed it just enough in time and there's like a gap in time between when our water's contaminated and the pipeline's completed. You're saying there's more information coming from the Corps on that today?
What I'm saying is that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are the leads in this, and that the Sewage and Water Board, the GOSEP at the state level, and other agencies at the federal level are all leaned in on this and are looking into not only contingency plans, but also really focused on delivering results relative to the solution that is on the table.
Okay.
And that is being worked on like right now.
Gotcha, thank you. And one more thing, the local cost share for the construction of the pipeline, I guess, could be somewhere in the range of 50 million or more if it's 25%. Has there been discussion, do we know where that's going to come from or how that's going to be covered?
So like I said, when I was speaking about this earlier, relative to funding, right? And even relative to that split you just mentioned, the federal government is looking at this event a little bit differently, simply because lessons learned, also understanding the importance and the need to adapt to climate that has changed. That also feeds into the city, meaning us, making sure that, again, the federal government does as much as possible relative to mitigating what we're seeing now. And we have every indication to believe that the federal government, the state, the city of New Orleans, and even Sewage and Water Board, that we have a plan of action regarding the financing. So more to come on that. We're working through it, but I'm just telling you that it's looking good. It feels good. I'm very confident because of the need, but also the timing and the opportunity.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Mayor Cantrell, have you heard of saltwater impacting tourism at all? Mayor Cantrell, have you heard of saltwater is impacting tourism?